What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the Detroit Lions franchise in the offseason officially now, here for season number 2, heading into season 3. And if you guys haven't noticed, first 10 seconds of the video here, something sounds a little different, doesn't it? Yeah, that's my voice. I'm fighting a little bit of a bug right now. Got sick on Tuesday, wanted to do this video on Tuesday afternoon, just wasn't feeling up for it, and I definitely wasn't feeling up to going live and doing the draft live stream, because this video got to come first. You know, it's kind of the schedule, if you will. So after all that, just kind of giving you a preview of kind of what the rest of the week is going to look like here. Now that this video is out, we're going to see some re-signings, we're going to see some contract negotiations. Who are we going to bring back? What does the draft class look like? Free agency, who do we sign? Who do we bring in here? Once we get that figured out, then I'm thinking maybe the weekend we can probably do our draft live stream with community guest pickers. If you guys know by now, I've kind of explained this over the course of this season 2. I'm not going to be making the picks. So out of all these prospects here that are going to be listed in the NFL draft, I'm not going to be making the picks because there are custom players in the draft class. I know what their overall ratings are, I know who they are, and I know what their dev trait is, and that's kind of unfair, right? It loses people, loses the immersion of the series, loses the challenge of the series. So what we're going to do is we're going to have guest pickers come in and make the picks for me. So kind of a cool concept. Hope you guys are kind of studying the draft class here a little bit. We're going to look at that in just a few minutes here, a little bit deeper of a dive, but let's talk real quick about the re-signing players. We got $100 million in cap space, and there's a lot of big decisions to be made, guys. A lot of core pieces, a lot of veteran pieces that got us here to this Super Bowl run. It's going to be a lot of tough calls, man. We don't have money for all of them, so it's going to be a really tough decision on who we decide to bring back or let go. And if you guys remember the rules here for the re-signing phase, I can only bring back 3 red interest players to kind of keep things realistic. Like, I can't just cheese everybody that we're going to bring back everybody in red interest. It just doesn't make sense, right? So if they're not interested, they're not interested. Now let's talk about Jared Goff. Guy just won a Super Bowl. I can't really let him go. I don't want to give him a 5-year deal. I feel like maybe that would be realistic, though, in real life. You sign a franchise quarterback for long term. Instead, I'm going to use that money here for St. Brown. I feel like Goff's maybe got 3 more years left in him until he starts seeing a little bit of regression. St. Brown, he's going to get to the point where, you know, that's a huge weapon, and he's going to get to a point where he's going to start getting better. That overall is going to keep growing with that superstar X factor. And I want to lock him up long term because I love throwing to him. Drag routes, out routes, he's money. Got to keep him for long term. We are going to bring back and accept the options here for Hutchinson and Jamo, of course. Why wouldn't you? And then for Taylor Decker, feel like that's an integral piece to the O-line. Got to bring him back. You got to secure that left tackle spot. Can't rely on a rookie here, especially with our playoff and championship window kind of on the line there. Going to bring back Liam McNeil, defensive tackle here, Levi on Wuzurike. I don't think he's really cutting it. We just got Cameron Knight, drafted last year, the rookie, superstar dev. He's been money. I think the pairing between those two guys is going to be huge. So we got to bring back McNeil. I'm not going to bring back Bugs because of Cameron Knight and McNeil and losing on Wuzurike. Don't feel like Bugs is contributing too much. Not going to bring back Glass now either. You guys might have saw that. Or Jason Kumbida. Feel like we might be able to do a little bit better at the fullback spot. A couple other players want to look at. We got James Houston. I'm bringing him back. Not going to re-sign Emmanuel Mosley, which might be controversial because he wasn't asking for a whole lot of money, and he's a 77, which he would be one of our better corners on the roster. We did also have one more red interest player that we could bring back, but it's also like a money thing, man. It's a money thing, and I just didn't feel like that would be a good use of it, right? Derek Barnes, we tried to go after him. He didn't re-sign. And then Melifonwu, even that one's controversial too because I do like Melifonwu in real life. He's a scheme fit, but he's a normal dev in Madden. And that was really the kind of the thing that sold it for me, is that Tracy Walker needs to be the depth guy here, even though we're spending a little bit extra money. Melifonwu, younger player, but normal dev, not going to even progress really that much. And I just felt like it was a better source of an allocation of our money, so to speak. So that's pretty much it, man. That's our re-signing phase. We've got $5.5 million left And we got to figure out where we're going to find some more money, right? And I'm looking at restructuring some contracts. And it looks like Frank Ragnow, probably the best option here for a restructure. So we're going to do that. We're going to bring back in about $4 million. And we're going to use that money to shore up the O-line with Solomon Kindly. He's 5 years younger than Glasgow. I mean, the overall rating's the same as well. They're both 70. So I feel like, you know, it was time. It's time for Solomon to take that role. So let's take a look now at some of our custom prospects. We got Jose Cheltenham, a quarterback. And, you know, we're not really in the business of taking a quarterback now at this stage. We've got Hendon Hooker, who played well in gameplay. I like the feel of him. I like the way our offense can roll with a little bit more read options and RPOs. I think that would be cool to have down the road when Goff is gone. But for the time being, Goff's going to be here for the next 3 years. Unless he, like, really regresses or he starts to stink, then it's time to move on. We got Chuck Storm, William Hayes. I might be looking at a pass rusher. It could be on the table here. William Hayes, good player, good quarterback out of La Tech. Now I'm just kind of hearting and favoriting the custom players for you guys to kind of get familiar with the names. Now, the community, you guys are now going to be well aware of who's a custom guy and who's not, right? But again, you don't know kind of the fog of war thing. You don't know what their overall rating is. You don't know if they're going to be a bust. You don't know if they're actually a normal dev. You have no idea. I do, but that's kind of the fun behind it, because now that the community is going to vote and the guest pickers are going to make picks for me, it kind of adds to that element of the challenge. Whereas if I was just drafting on my own, then, you know, I could make the best possible decision. You know, and I obviously don't want that. So quarterbacks, obviously I'm not really interested in many QBs, but this is kind of the slow scroll of each positional group and kind of what we're looking at as far as skills are concerned. Wide receivers, I don't think we need any. We are stacked at that group. We just signed Equanimous St. Brown. Last season, we signed Donovan Peoples-Jones to kind of emulate the trade that the Lions pulled off here in real life this season for the playoff push. Tight end, I don't think that we need a tight end early. If we want to take a tight end late, then maybe we might consider that if he's a physical freak and he kind of matches with what Sam Laporta does. But, you know, it's got to be there. It's got to be right. Offensive line, probably the position that I think outside of like linebacker, like interior linebacker. I say interior linebacker just because Jack Campbell. I mean, I like Jack Campbell. He's been great this season, and even dating back to season 1. I'm not looking to replace him, but I'm looking to give that position group a little bit more depth, right? An outside linebacker, we just took one last year. If anything, I might take defensive back a little higher. That's kind of what I see as this team's biggest need, but I'm anxious to hear what you guys are thinking there in the comment section. Okay, now, free agency. What are we going to do here for free agency? Obviously, this is going to impact the positions that we go out and scout and the positions that we're thinking about taking in the draft, right? So I mentioned pass rush, I mentioned linebacker, I mentioned offensive line. These are all spots that I feel like we could get a little bit better at. Obviously, this defense was decent, pretty good, forcing a lot of turnovers. So I'd like to kind of capitalize on that and mitigate some of the losses that we had. Like Derek Barnes is no longer here. Melifonwu is no longer here. Manuel Mosley had a lot of picks as well. So kind of slow scrolling the top 100 here all the way down to about 80 overall. Some really solid players coming into this free agency class. We do need a third quarterback. I know in Madden you don't necessarily need a third quarterback, but I'd like to have a mentor in there just like we did with Teddy Bridgewater in season 1 and Joe Flacco in season 2. So if we want to look at quarterback, maybe we need to focus on a mentor to be the third string guy. Now looking at the wide receiver group, Jamo's an 84, St. Brown's a 95. We've got Dylan Mann. Obviously had a lot of big catches in the postseason. He was a rookie last year, really showed out. We're going to cut Jareth Stearns. This one hurt me a little bit because I like Stearns. I think that was the move because it does save us some money, $1.1 million to be exact. Tight end, we've got a little bit of a dip off there from Laporta down to Brock Wright and James Mitchell. And again, look at the O-line depth. Like, we don't have very many guys as the backup offensive line. We got Sorsdahl behind Sewell. He probably can play left tackle too. But looking at the pass rush, we've got Hutchinson. We've got Houston. I like that dynamic duo there. You got Pascal, who's that normal dev. We also got this Dante McMillan that we drafted in season 1. I'm really liking him. Probably need one more D tackle. Again, you could have argued to bring back Levi at that point, but I feel like we could upgrade there versus just bringing back Levi. Middle linebacker, Jack Campbell's the only guy there. Probably need to shore that position up. Outside linebackers, we could, it's marginal, but we could get a little bit better there. I'm not going to complain with the group we have, but if something's there, then, you know, let's consider it. Cornerback, Jamie Thomas is going to be our number 2 guy. Like, he stepped up in the postseason, and, you know, I like our cornerback room. We could draft a guy in the first round and really make that positional group a lot better too. So it's on my mind. Let's just say that. Safeties, I think we're set there. I think we don't need to be focusing on safety. I think it's cornerback, middle linebacker, pass rush, offensive line. I think those are probably the biggest needs for our team. Now, I talked about the tight end spot, right? And I feel like I could move Brock Wright, who's a 68, I think he is. And I think we could swing a deal to try to get one of those offensive line. Like, this is just one more positional player that we don't need to draft in the draft. So moving on from Brock Wright, a 68, for this guy Mike Slate, a 64 overall left guard. But you look at his numbers, like, he doesn't seem like a 64. Lead block is not very good for a guard. Like, if he's going to pull, I need him to be able to lead block a little bit. But you look at his numbers compared to Jonah Jackson, he's within distance of some of those ratings. So I think he's going to improve. I think he's going to be solid for us down the road. I think that was a good add. I mean, we could draft another tight end easily that's more of kind of in line again with what we do on offense, like with Laporta. If Laporta goes down in injury, then you need another guy that's going to step in and to do Laporta things. So we might be able to draft a tight end. Center, Dan Feeney. How do you not like this guy's get up? Like, look at that. We got the mullet. We got the mustache. Like, 60. He seems like a Dan Campbell guy, right? I got to bring him in. He's going to be our backup center behind Ragnow. And then defensive tackle. So we're going super interior here in free agency. We don't really have a whole lot of money left in cap room. $7.5 million to be exact. I'm going to bring in 64 overall. Carlos Watkins, he's got 75 speed. He's got some decent acceleration at 72, but the strength, what he's going to be able to bring as like the 4th string guy, you know, in case of injury, I think that was a solid add. So really a very, very light free agency here for season number 3. But it's primarily because we had to bring back Hutch. We had to bring back Jamo. We got to re-sign Goff, your quarterback, your Super Bowl winning quarterback. So there's a lot of moves that had to happen in-house before we bring other people in, right? So just kind of for immersion purposes, we've got Ramiro Gallo going to be hired by the Steelers. I have no idea what he brings to the organization. Or Lynn Wagner. I have no idea what he brings. But it's going to be fun beating up on those guys for season number 3. Got to tell you that. Other hirings across the league, if you're interested in that sort of thing. I don't really care that much about, you know, other teams' hires unless it's real guys, real coaches. I would have liked to have seen, you know, Todd Bowles get a job somewhere. That would have been kind of cool. But like Ramiro Gallo, okay, okay, we'll follow you, I guess, maybe. But all right, mock draft number 4. This is about pretty close to official as you could possibly get. We got Lucas Kirby out there, the tight end, going to Kansas City. So they're looking to replace Travis Kelce eventually down the road. I think he might have retired. I don't remember exactly, but they've got us taking the right guard, Larry Bankston. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting to see what you guys think that we need to do in the draft. Live streaming, of course, probably towards the weekend. So for the free agents, the top 100 at least, guys who have signed, things I'm noticing, the Rams went nuts. The Saints cleaned up pretty much. Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of Saints and Rams. Look at that. Steelers. Holy crap, they had a ton of money to spend, dude. That like the offseason was won by Los Angeles and New Orleans. Like the Panthers were active. The Commanders, it seemed like they popped up a little bit. The Packers. So we had about 3 to 4, maybe 5 teams that were super active in free agency, and then you had little old us winning the Super Bowl. with 2 free agent signings. Kind of funny, just the difference between all these organizations. So Larry Bankston, this is the kind of the guy that the mock drafts said that we should consider. Those are his numbers. I don't know. You guys let me know what you think. And let's get into the draft here. Hopefully towards the weekend. I'll let you guys know in Discord. I'll let you know in the community tab post. But either way, I'm excited for the draft. Let's see who you guys think that we should consider. If you did a little analysis, I'd love to see it. So guys, leave a like if you like this thing. As always, thank you so much for watching, and peace.